Yeah, my name is John Harrison. I live up in Lawrenceville, Virginia, which is maybe 30 miles from here, up on the other side of Lake Gaston. And several years ago, I started having activity around my house, and didn't know what it was. Starting out maybe 25, 27 years or so ago, me and my ex-wife came home one night, went shopping, came home one night, and as I was getting out the car to unlock the door to get, my sons were asleep in the car. They were small. Heard something make a noise beside my house. It was a low, deep growl. It was like a. "Rrrr." I jumped back in the car and looked at my wife, my ex-wife, whatever, and I said, "Did you hear that?" And she said, "Yeah." And she used to work at nights. And I said, "Have you ever heard anything like that before?" And she said, "Yeah, I've heard that before." And I said, "Why you didn't tell me?" She said, "You wouldn't believe me anyway." So I said, "Well, I guess she's right." So then, my kids used to play out in the yard, and several times they said they hear something out in the woods. Explain, and they would run back in the house. So I'll just say this is just no children's imagination and everything. But where I live at, it's a back road. It's my house. I have a small lot, and then all the way around my house on all three sides is woods, uh, deep, deep woods. Across the road from me is an old farm. The man that lived there, he died a few years ago, and they planted pine trees out there. But before, he used to have cows out there. And then he got rid of the cows, and it was just a big open field out there, and I could see all the way to his house. You can't see it now, but back then you could see. So after me and my wife split up, my girlfriend moved in with me, and she used to tell me a lot of times because I'm a truck driver. So at first, I used to run long distance, home on the weekends, going all week, and she would tell me that she hear noises outside, and I told her, I said, "Well, you live in the country. It's no deer or something. No, you just crazy, like most people would say." And so as I got a new job where I was still driving truck, but I would leave home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and she said that a lot of times when I go outside in the morning, crank the truck up, once I leave, we had dogs, and the dogs were just no free running dogs. They just stay in the yard. They would go out across the field or running things. Across the field is a pond, and they would be going out toward the pond, and they always running at things. And it seems like most of the time it would be after I cranked the truck up and would leave in the mornings. So one night, one morning, she called me about, I guess it was about 2 or 3 in the morning. I left home, and she never calls me when I leave in the morning. I'd been gone maybe not even 10 minutes, and she said, "You need to come back to the house." Said the dogs were outside barking, and her son named Tyler, he went to the door, opened the door, and just froze. And across the road from my house, like I said, it was an big open field. There's a fence line that runs along beside the road. And he said he saw something walking, and he said it's taller than John. I'm about 5'10", bigger than me, and he said it was walking on two legs. He said it was covered in hair. He said, and he watches a lot of nature stuff. He knows what's outside and everything. And he said it wasn't a bear. Bears, when they stand on two legs, they kind of wobble when they walk. This was walking like a person. So they called me, and my girlfriend, she went on the porch, and she could hear something walking down toward the pond. And so I turned the truck around, came back home, and I saw Tyler. He was sitting at the table. Yeah, his therapist had told him one time if he sees something or something that he doesn't understand, to draw a picture of it. So he drew a picture of a Bigfoot, more or less, something walking on two legs covered in hair. So after that, we started. I started paying more attention to things going around out there at night, and she, my girlfriend, she always says that she hears things out in the woods and noises and just strange noises and everything. So what I did, I walked in the woods. Me and my nephew, we walked on an angle from the house back in the woods behind my house, and I saw a tree which had like claw marks on it. And this is, let's see, this is the picture of the claw marks on the tree. So I said maybe it was a bear because I've seen bears out there. Uh, there was plenty of deer, bears, no turkeys, raccoons, no all sort of animals out there. No, we even have coyotes out there now. And but these claw marks were about I guess maybe 6 feet high on the tree, 6, 7 feet high on the tree. So we saw that. We kept on walking back there in the woods. About a mile. We walked probably about a mile or so back in the woods. And they, at the time, everything was growing up. They had cut timber years and years ago, but everything has grown back up. So my nephew and I, we were walking down in the woods, and we heard a limb break. And I stopped, and I said, "Did you hear that?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, all right, we're going to keep on walking a little bit more." As we walked down further in the woods, we heard something walk off from where I was facing, walked off to the right, and was walking, on 2 legs. You could hear it on 2 legs, and it was, it wasn't running. It was just walking away kind of fast. So I told him, I said, "Did you hear that?" He like, "Yeah." So I walked a little bit further. I told him to stay right there. I walked a little further and looked down the woods and didn't see anything. So I came back and I said, "All right, we're going to get up out of here." But we went back to the house, and so then me, my girlfriend, my daughter, my niece, and my nephew, we walked back down in the woods again in the same area. We got down there, almost in the same area. We heard something walk, and we heard something walk off the opposite way. So I said, "All right, we're gonna leave." They ran on back to where I had my car parked at the end of the road, and we walked on back and everything. We got almost to the car, and a foul smell just came through like out of nowhere, and we have smelled this before. It's not a skunk smell. A skunk, no, a skunk. The odor will linger. It just stays there for a long time. This odor would come real strong, almost burn your nose, almost like an ammonia, skunky smell. And then after a few minutes, it'll just go on away. And so we did that, and then, like I said, the dogs were always barking and running across the field and everything. So one night if I'm not mistaken, it was a Friday night. Dogs weren't barking or anything, and I got a big handheld spotlight that I shine out there sometime. So I shined out across the field, and I saw some deer here, deer here, and you could see the old farmhouse where the man lived at. Like I said, he had already passed. So I saw on one side of the house I could see some deer, and the deer, when the spotlight hit them, they just keep on eating or grazing or whatever they're doing. I shined on the opposite side of the house, and I saw some eyes. They were glowing like a yellowish green. No, same color as the deer, but it was the eye shine. But it was tall. And when the light spot shined on it, it stopped and kind of jerked a little bit. I caught his attention. So, and as I did that, I was just going through my motions, and then I said, "Oh, that's not a deer." So I went back to it, and the eyes, though, it was still looking at me, but it started walking behind the house. It was looking directly at me and walking at the same time, like this. So I shined a light on the other side of the house to see if it came around. I didn't see it. Now this house, it's probably 300-400 yards away from me. estimating. So it's a good ways off. All I could see was eye shine. So I don't know exactly what it was, but it was eye shine. I shined on the other side of no, it shined back on the side of the house where it was at first, and I saw the eyes peep around the corner, and it kind of ducked down a little bit, and then ducked back behind the house. So I shined around. I didn't see anything else. So I went back in the house, and I was like, no, this was I said about 2 o'clock or so in the morning, and so I went back. So the next day, what I did, I walked down to the house, and no, this land is posted, but nobody's over there. So I just walked on down to the house, and I could see the tree where the thing had walked by, and the door, and I could tell where the eyes were, and it was probably a good 7 to 8 feet high. So then that the same weekend, that was Saturday, Sunday night, uh, we were at home, and we didn't have a TV on, didn't have the lights on. It was about I guess around 11 o'clock or so that night. And then we had the windows cracked open, and we started hearing noises outside, all sort of weird noises in the woods, and it kind of scared me because that was the first time I had heard the noises. But like I said, my girlfriend said she's been hearing them. That was the first time I had actually heard them myself. So I scared it. I said, I pissed the thing off. I shined a light in his face. So I told her I had to leave that morning. I had to leave early anyway. I had to go pick up my trailer and then go to Norfolk. So I told her, I said, you get your son, you gonna go to your sister's house because I done ticked this thing off and I don't know what it's gonna do, Because like I said, that was the first time I'd ever heard the noises or anything. So, we did that, and then like I said, we used to hear a lot of noises outside at night, and we've heard yelps, whoops, the like the Ohio howls, the we've heard that deep in the woods, and then sometimes we used to stand on the porch. Now, all this is not same weekend. This is overtime, and sometimes we would hear that. Then you hear something called like a response way over somewhere else, further away. We hear answer, and then we stand on the porch sometime at night, and you could just hear it, like traveling like a big circle around all the way around the area that I live at, and then and in the mornings it would just stop. One morning I got up, my truck had broke down. It wouldn't do right, so I was outside working on my truck early that morning. It was still dark. It was hearing noises that sound like a cow uh, in the woods behind the house, and I know it's no cow pasture back in the woods. I mean, it's a couple of cow pastures around, so I'm saying maybe it was a cow, but it was a noise sounded like a cow, and one would say something, the other one would respond, and it did that until the sun came up. When the sun came up, it stopped, and but we had a lot of activity going on around there. Just strange things, and I I've always been a believer in Bigfoot, but I've always heard that people would might see one or just a glance. I didn't know that they would actually have hot spots or areas that they lived at, and maybe you get a lot of activity. So people say, "Hey, you're crazy. There's somebody in the woods messing with you." But where I live at, it's pitch black. Just the light from the. I have a security light in the back of my house and keep the front porch light on. If you turn those lights out, it's pitch black out there. No one is going to be walking around through the country 2, 3 o'clock in the morning through the woods with no lights. Uh, and country. A lot of people have guns. I've gone outside and heard noises, shot by gun. So getting back to where we saw those claw marks and heard something walk off in the woods, as we came back up down to the area where my girlfriend always says she hears noises at, we walked down there and we started seeing a lot of funny looking trees. They was bent over, snapped over, uh, and if you looked at them closely, they kind of resembled teepees almost. But the trees were about, yeah, say about this big around or so, and they were, some were broken off, looked like they were just ripped off up top and laid against each other. And even when it stormed or whatever, they never moved or anything. So, but also at the bottom, they were intertwined within each other. And I said that doesn't look natural. It might be, but it doesn't look natural. And it was, four or five of these things in the woods. And it was all in one particular area. You walk other places in the woods, didn't see them, but just in this one spot where we used to hear a lot of noise at. The pond across the road from me, sometimes I could go outside at night, I could hear something splashing in the pond. And I said, well, no, maybe just just a regular animal, bear or deer or something like that. But sometimes I could hear something splashing in the pond. Sometimes you could hear trees getting knocked over. You could hear like something pushing the trees over. But I'd never been over there looking around that pond, to see exactly what it was. And I was telling my father and my uncle about it. My father, he used to travel all over the world. And my uncle, he retired. He was a sergeant major in the army and everything. He traveled all over the world. So one day they came to my house and they said, "They show me the stuff in the woods you're talking about." I'm like, okay. So we went down in the woods and my uncle looked around and he looked around. And he said, "It seems like somebody's in these woods messing with you. Somebody trying to build a lean-to down here." And I told him, I said, "No." I said, "Look at the trees." I said, "They're intertwined within each other. They're not just placed, laid down like a person would do it. This, you have trees going this way, one go this way, and they're like intertwined within each other." And he said, "Yeah, this is some freaky stuff going on right here." And so he said it's just something weird going on with that. Recently, we haven't heard anything. No, every once in a while we hear something, but what happened in the woods back there where I said I heard something walking at, they came in and cut all that timber down. I mean, and when they cut the timber now, they clear cut. It's nothing left. Trees are growing back up now, but after they clear cut, out there, we kind of stopped having activity out there. But that's growing back up now. If I'm sitting at my front door to the right side of my house, it's a back in the woods. Some people bought that property and they put a little hunting cabin back there, but they very rarely there. And really, the last main really good activity I had was Thanksgiving before last. I had on that weekend I put my Christmas lights around my house, and I burn wood, wood heater. So my stepson, Tyler, he went outside to it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and he went outside to get some on the front porch to get some wood. I was in the bed asleep, and I always told him, if you hear something, come get me, wake me up. It doesn't matter. If it's something that you don't think is right, come wake me up. That's what I'm here for. So he came there, John. He said, "It's something out there. It sounds like something's walking toward the house in the woods out there." And he was telling me that what happened. He went out there and he just had a feeling like something was watching him. He said he doesn't know, but it was just that feeling like something was watching him. And he was starting to pick some wood up, and then he heard something walking up through the woods, bipedal on 2 feet. So he came in the house and got me. I jumped up, went on the porch, and when I went on the porch, I could hear it walking back down in the woods, and it was the same way I've heard before, that ch. And we have a lot of deer at my house, so I know it wasn't a deer. No deer. It's a completely different noise, and this was heavy and walking on 2 feet, according to the way it sounded. So the next day, what we did, we went outside and Tyler, he's an inside guy. He very rarely goes outside or whatever. But me and him walked out in the woods. We walked down toward that cabin, and we walked around the cabin. Didn't see anything. So he said he was going back to the house. So I'm like, all right. So I just walked down the woods where I heard it walking at, and I'll just walk down the woods to see if I see anything. But couldn't see anything or prints or anything. Came back to the main road. As I'm walking back up the road, I get to the little path that goes back to the cabin, and I hear something walking, and it's saying exactly like I heard the night before. So I stopped, and I could hear it getting closer, and so it kind of scared me. But what I did, I stood in the road, hid behind, and tried to hide behind a tree because I could hear it coming closer. Then I saw an orange shirt, and it was Tyler, which he had shot me. He had walked back down in the woods by himself and was walking back, back up the path. But it was the exact same sound like we had heard the night before. And a lot of people say, well, it's somebody out there in the woods or something like that. But like I said, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, if you're walking out there in those woods and don't have a light or anything, a flashlight or headlight or anything, no, you can't do it because the woods are thick and no, you can't just walk out there and it's pitch black. I don't know. I think maybe they travel. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Maybe they travel or they have an area they just they're here for a while and they go somewhere else and they travel. But like I said, the field across the road from me, there's pine trees there. They're so tall you can't see anything there. And that pond, it's a big pond across the road, and that's where a lot of activity. We hear stuff going down to that pond and everything. But I haven't had anything recently, and that that's about it. My name is John Harrison, Lawrenceville, Virginia. Appreciate everybody coming out and hearing my little story. Thank you.